Hello everyone, I'm Anakin Blitz coming back for another World of Tanks Blitz video, and today I will be talking about, in my opinion, how Wargaming should deal with a lot of things, including the missiles being the main one. And this is just things like buffs, nerfs, and just how they should, in my opinion, like, fix things to make the game better. And the main topic of this video, and this is what I'm going to start off with, is the rockets and the Sheridan. So I'm going to start off with the Sheridan and why, or how, in my opinion, they should better, instead of just removing the missiles like what they're doing in update 7.5. In my opinion, this is what they should do, and I know that this idea is probably going to sound kind of dumb, but I feel like it may not be the worst idea after all. So you can see that I'm only showing this replay here. This is basically just a replay where I spammed missiles and uprising during my live stream because it was people wanted me to spam missiles, so I just did that. And you'll see that I do crazy with these missiles, and you'll see this is just how OP the missiles can really be. This is the main reason why people complain about them, and you can see that what makes everyone so mad about them. Well, the fact that they can't even shoot me right now, and I'm able to just deal like crazy amounts of damage to them. Meanwhile, I have not lost a single hit point. This is just how OP the missiles are, and this is what people complain about. But this can actually really easily be solved, in my opinion, and that is with this idea that I came up with. So what this idea is, again, it might be dumb, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Okay, so the missiles, the rockets in this game, on the Sheridans are heat, and heat is, basically the shell type that, well, anyways, let's just get in. So, what, in my opinion, they should do, like, what I think that they should do to the rockets is make them HE rockets. Now, that might sound weird, but I feel like I know, pretty much no YouTubers have said anything about this, and it's kind of like an idea that just randomly came in my head, but I feel like it would actually not be a bad idea. So, you're probably wondering about the HE rockets. Well, high explosive, if you don't know, is basically a special, unique type of shell. It penetrates and it does splash damage. It is a high explosive. It is an explosive shell, and basically it deals, it has a low penetration though, but when it does fully penetrate an enemy vehicle, it will basically deal a crazy amount of damage. When it does full damage, it does a lot of damage. But in return, if you don't penetrate fully, you're gonna just do splash damage, you're not gonna do as much damage. So, what am I saying about high explosive rockets? Well, what I'm saying is the main problem, in my opinion, about the rockets is you can just butter right through, for example, a mouse or an E100. You can just like sit behind a hill where they can't even shoot you and just fire right through the cheeks and penetrate them every time, and that gets really annoying, and I really do agree with that. But I'm not one of those missile haters. I don't complain about it because it is a really interesting game mechanic, and I really don't want Wargaming removing this game mechanic from the game because it really is a fun game, a really fun, unique mechanic to play with because it's a one of a kind, and I feel like they shouldn't just remove it simply because there are, of course, a lot of missile haters, most people are, but there are a lot of people that enjoy them too, and I enjoy them. I obviously get mad sometimes, but I won't rage about it, and I'm not like one of those actual missile haters like a lot of other people are. So, back to the high explosive rockets instead of the heat ones, is basically the point about that is you won't be able to deal full damage to a mouse or something. If you come across a mouse or an 100 and you just fire your missiles right through it, you won't do a full penetration. Now, what I'm saying about this is it'll be a lot less OP because even though you will still be able to spam missiles from a ridgeline, you won't be able to do as much damage, and it will play just like a high explosive shell, which means it will require more skill to aim at weak spots. For example, the roofs of tanks are weaker, but then you'll have to aim onto them. You can't just go right through the turret, like right to the front of the turret if you want to pen, because these are not heat shells that just do like almost a guaranteed pen. These are high explosive shells. Now, that also means that when you go up against lighter armored tanks like Leopard 1s and light tanks, means that you will do full penetrations and do a crazy amount of damage, which, again, people are going to say that that's OP. But here's the thing, is these are rockets, and those are tanks that are actually maneuverable, and I understand, like, when you're in a mouse and people are spamming missiles on you, that gets annoying because you can't do anything about it, really, other than angling. But when you're in, like, a Leopard 1, if you are getting hit by missiles, then that's your problem, because you should be able to easily outmaneuver the missiles with that Leopard 1, or any other, like, lightly armored tank. And with the high explosive missiles, what happens is tanks like the mouse don't have to worry too much about the missiles anymore, other than, like, slight, like, 100, 200 damage splashes on, like, the engine deck and stuff like that. You might be able to pen, like, a little. But tanks like the Leopard 1, you can still, if you're lucky, and you'll get some nice fun HE pens with like they'll do like 800, 900 damage with the HE missiles, which is fine because it's gonna be real hard to aim them in the first place because tanks moving that fast, and these are rockets that are really hard to control even on a heavy tank. You can see, like, in this replay, although I was doing a lot of, like, really crazy hits at the beginning of the game, I'm missing, rockets. They're not that easy to play. Unless if you're really, like, a good player, you can't really land a lot of them. So, yeah, the high explosive rockets, in my opinion, is the best way that they should, deal with the missiles and make not only the missile haters happy, but also the missile lovers, or should I say people that enjoy the mechanic, the game mechanic of firing rockets. It'll make them happy as well. So, yeah, you can see that firing missiles still takes skill, it still takes luck, and it's not an easy thing to do. But I'm fine with the fact that they're getting rid of the missiles, or I'm not fine with the fact that they're removing them, but I like the fact that they're actually listening to the player base and doing something about that, because everyone does hate missiles a crazy amount. But yeah, that's basically what my opinion they should do to the Sheridan. Now, another thing, before we get on to other tanks with the Sheridan is, you know, the FV4 Toto, which is the tier 10 British medium tank on the tech tree. This tank has 2 guns. This tank is famously known for the HESH shells that it carries, but the other gun carries heat shells. So now people are going to ask about the Sheridan, if you're going to make the missiles HE, what's going to happen to a premium shell? What is going to happen to normal HE? Well, this is going to go basically similar to the FV4 Toto. I'd say that the Sheridan will have 2 guns. It will have a stock gun, which will basically have the standard, without the missiles, of course. This will be the, whatever, basically what Wargaming is doing right now with the removed missile. It's going to fire standard heat shells, and everything else is going to be the same. And then there's going to be the other gun, which is basically going to have high explosive missiles. They're not going to be, I'm not going to, like, say that they're HESH, because they're not going to have crazy penetration, but they're kind of like HESH in a way. But they're basically high explosive missiles, is a simple way to say it. And yeah, that's basically what I think that they should do, and that's for the Sheridan. So, and the penetration, I'm not really sure what I want to think about that, because I don't want it to be a crazy amount, because of course the tops of tanks, even like strong armored tanks, the tops of them are pretty weak, so we don't want to make the HE pen too strong on it so that you can just penetrate right through the tops. We want to make it so that you'll do about 200 to 300 damage, like if you're coming up against a mouse, maybe 200-ish, like splash damage. And when you're up against a Leopard 1, you're obviously going to do full pen, but the trick is trying to actually hit that Leopard 1. So that is what I think should be done to the Sheridan. So now some other things, just some other tanks in the game that a lot of people talk about. A lot of like people say that they're OP. First of all, let's go start off in tier 10. The IS-4. This is, like, in my opinion, the strongest tier 10 heavy tank, and it really is a strong tank for many reasons, but I feel like it makes certain tanks like the IS-7 irrelevant, and it really does, and I feel like Wargaming can fix a few things with this to make the IS-7 more relevant, and keep the IS-4, like, balanced, and keep everything else balanced, so that right now in tier 10 heavies, you have a few heavy tanks that are slightly forgotten. So, first off, what I think they should do is the IS-4, I'm fine with the 340mm of heat pen. I know that's really OP. I know a lot of people complain about it, but I'm honestly fine with it. Like, it's just a unique thing. The fact that you can spam heat into a lot of like mouse upper plates is fine, but I feel like they should nerf the damage per minute a little bit. I feel like they should nerf the damage per minute, and you see I'm not even fully crew trained, but I'm still fine with it. I'm 88% crew trained. I'm still fine with like this 10.83 seconds. 2.3k damage per minute is not a lot. In fact, that's really low, but has good penetration. I feel like that's either do one or the other, either good damage per minute or good penetration, but having both is a little bit too, I mean, the IS-4 is not crazy damage per minute either way, but it still is pretty good compared to like the IS-7, for example. Now, what I feel like should be done with the IS-7, a lot of people, I hear so many people say like, just like make the ammo rack less easy to destroy, but again, I like having certain tanks that are unique, and the IS-7, the ammo racks don't trouble me too much, and it's just also a unique thing again. I don't want every tank to be the same in the game, and yeah, I'm fine with the fact that it gets ammo racked a lot, but what I do think that really should be changed with this tank is the premium ammunition penetration. It's only at 303, and that's, well, that's with gun rammer, but it's, that's terrible, though. You can't even go through some things like the Mouse's E100's turret cheeks when they're like angled slightly. You can't even go through those, which basically makes this tank useless when you go up against those tanks. I feel like they need to at least buff the premium penetration to about the same as like the Mouse, for example, which is not crazy good, but it's not terrible. 327. I would say that the IS-7's premium pen could go up to like around 320 or so. That should be fine. Plus, it's APCR. They ricochet a lot, so I'm totally fine. I'd say that that's what they should do. Another thing I feel like they could do is just buff the damage per minute on the IS-7 by a slight bit. But other than that, I feel like the IS-7 is good for that. Now, what else do we have? Well, we have the T-62A and the Object 140, which the Object 140 has just been mega power crap. It still is a strong tank, but it's just kind of, when you have all those buffs that the T-62A got, it is not as strong as it used to be. And I feel like this tank should get a few little, now I'm not saying just buff the 140 like crazy, make it OP like a T-22 medium, but these are a few changes I should, that I think should do. So the T-20s, not the T-22 medium, I mean the T-62A used to have 6 degrees of gun depression, which is just fine. And then they decided to buff it to 7 degrees, and that is fine, but here's the thing is the Object 140, which has a weaker turret than the 62A, has only 6 degrees, whereas the 62A, which has a stronger turret, has 7 degrees. And meanwhile, they had the same damage per minute, basically. The 140 does have better penetration when you, like, factor in the shell normalization and stuff like that, but, and it is faster and has, like, an overall kind of better hull armor, but the 62A can hold a ridgeline better, but basically that just makes it so that the 62A is really good at just holding ridgelines, and the 140 is really good at brawling in close quarters. But I feel like what they could do to kind of mix things up and spice things up a bit is take off 1 degree of gun depression off the 62A, and add 1 degree of gun depression onto the 140, making the 140 7 degrees of gun depression with a not so strong but decently strong turret, and 6 degrees on the 62A, but a stronger turret. So that would make it so that the 140 can use gun depression positions a little better. They could even make it 8 degrees, because then your turret will be stronger once you're in a gun depression position. But basically that will make it so that they can both hold down, like, effectively. And it'll make the 62A unable to hold some ridge lines with only 6 degrees of gun depression, especially because the hull is kind of high. It won't be able to hold down as much, so you'll need to seek other alternatives. I can't talk today. Alternatives with the T-62A, and also it makes a 140 a little better overall. Now, some other changes that I think that could happen is some heavies like the FB215B, the VK7201K, and the WZ113 are kind of forgotten. They used to be really strong tanks, like, but they kind of get forgotten. I feel like they could deserve, like, slight buffs. Now, I'm not saying, like, buff crazy things, but just slight buffs to at least get them a little, just kind of get them a little more relevant and not too much power crept. FB215B, this tank is known for the gun, right? This is basically what this tank is. It's just the gun, the armor is not that good, and the mobility is not, like, crazy good, and it's just known for the gun. It has a crazy damage per minute, the highest damage per minute of heavies, I think, in tier 10. Crazy damage per minute. It's a really good gun. So, FB215, I say that there's, the only thing that really needs to be changed with this tank, because it is a good tank, but the top of the turret is kind of weak. This tank can't really hold down really too well. It can hold down, but I've run into plenty of these tanks, and the thing is, you can just, especially if you're in an IS-4, you can butter right through the top of the turret. It's pretty weak with this hatch, and just overmatch the roof of the turret, so I feel like they could buff that a little bit. Then there's the WZ113, which is not a terrible tank, but it really is a good tank, because it has a crazy damage per minute for a heavy, a really good damage per minute, and the mobility's not bad. The armor, though, I feel like this tank deserves a little more armor on the, frontally, I'd say. I'd say they could just leave the side armor. I feel like this should give a little more frontal hull armor on this tank, though. And also, the turning rotation is horrible. At least give it a little more rotation, or give it an extra degree of gun depression. I feel like that would actually be an interesting thing for Wargaming to do. Give it an extra degree of gun depression, because all of these, like, IS heavies have 6 degrees. That's basically all it is. You can spice things up a bit by giving it 7 degrees. Now we have the VK7201K, which is not a terrible tank. In fact, it is a really strong tank, but it's a little more high skill cap, and it has some really things that can, the thing is, when you look at this tank, you'll think side scraper, right? Reverse turret, looks like strong sides, but guess what? There is this easy pen, most people know about it, but right here, you're able to just easily butter right through it, and it basically makes it, like, impossible to side scrape with this thing without getting penned if the enemy knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying to get rid of that weak spot, because I like those like, special weak spots on certain tanks. It makes everything more unique. For example, the IS-4 has a special spot that you can penetrate on the side. It's, yeah, so I'd say that they should keep that, actually. But, what they could do is, what they should do is buff a little more hit points. It only has 2.1k hit points. Buff the hit points, and also they could buff the damage per minute by a little bit. because the damage per minute does fall back a little behind. They should buff the damage per minute a little and buff the hit points a bit, and that would really greatly increase like this tank's like overall presence in battles and everything like that. Now I don't want to make this video too long. It's already 15 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap it up around now. So let's just let's talk about some OP tier rates. We have like Object 2x2. In my opinion, this is actually fine as it is. Now it is OP, but it's not crazy broken. It is a really strong tank, but it still has its weak spots because you can easily penetrate through the side, go through a track wheel, and there's like some pretty big cupolas. The lower plate is ginormous. Now, there's other like OP premiums like the Shark, the Action X, but they can still be penetrated. They have weak spots. I think that just tier 8, a lot of people panic about these things because a lot of people still don't know exactly how to penetrate some tanks in tier 8. Now the ML1, yeah, I'm fine. I guess the nerf, they nerfed the wrong thing. They should not have nerfed like the mobility and stuff like that in the aiming, but they could have just nerfed the armor. Simple, just nerf the armor. But yeah, and the ML2 definitely should not have been nerfed. That tank should be buffed in my opinion because it really is not the strongest tank out there. The damage per minute kind of lacks. The armor is not the best, and it really kind of struggles, especially with the mobility. They should at least give it something that stands out from anything else. But I don't want to make this video too long for you guys, so that's basically it. I wanted to give my opinion overall on how Wargaming should kind of fix things, because like I know other YouTubers have made videos on this too, and I've never really said it before, my opinions on some things, but I decided to say it now. The missile, Sheridan 1 being the main thing, I really hope that when my channel grows bigger, I really hope that Wargaming is gonna, or someone from Wargaming, or like some big YouTuber is gonna come across this video and bring up that Sheridan idea that I have, because I feel like having high explosive rockets would really help out matchmaking overall. It's gonna benefit everyone, people that hate missiles and people that love missiles. But we're gonna wrap up this video now, so I hope you all enjoyed this video and maybe learned something, maybe inspired something. If any big YouTubers are watching this, I would really appreciate it if you maybe at least spread some information over, make it a little bigger. I would like credit at least though, but yeah, I would like credit for this Sheridan idea that I have, but because I'm pretty sure, okay, by the way, if someone already talked about this Sheridan high explosive thing, which I don't know anyone that did, I did not mean to copy them, and yeah, I just came up with this idea, and I have never heard of any YouTubers talk about this, but if they did, then just let me know. But I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments your opinions on how Wargaming should deal with everything. But that's all I have for you guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm Anakin Blitz, and I'll see you all in the next one.